Earlier this month, we told you about the arrest of Connect Corporation CEO and founder Eugene Yu. Eugene was arrested and charged by the Los Angeles County District Attorney. He was charged with conspiracy to commit a crime and embezzlement of public funds. This all stemmed from a tip from Truth of Vote's Greg Phillips and Catherine Engelbrecht. Their tip stemmed from the discovery that election data may have been stored on servers located in China. All right, well, that is a lot to uncover here. Let's welcome in independent journalist Addy to help us break this all down. Addy has a new article in the National File that links the Chinese Communist Party to our elections. Hi, Addy. It's good to see you.
Hey, likewise, Emerald. Thanks for having me on again. Yeah, I could spend an hour on this, so yeah, wherever you want me to take it. Yeah, thanks again.
Sure. So what I find interesting, though not surprising necessarily, but I've been covering this a while now. You claim there's a connection between not only the CCP, which we knew, but also the mayor of Detroit, the Department of Defense, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and other counties across the country. Can you explain this?
Yeah, I can. And before I get into the ties with the bureaucratic agencies and the intelligence agencies, I just want to say this is coming from a worker at Connect earlier this year. They said that 10 to 15% of registered voters in the United States and 20% of registered voters within Australia are encompassed by Connect's software. And that was a statement made in April 2022. But the Department of Defense actually contracted with Connect, and this was through or as a part of the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act, also called UOCAVA, and it was pursuant to that. They offered $240,000, north of that actually, for fiscal year 2011 as part of that program to assist overseas voters. And that was something that was noticed in 2020, was a huge uptick in this sort of ballots, and non-military ballots in particular. And what's very important about this is you don't even need an ID to register using this program, and it says this on the website itself. And as far as the DHS actually contracted Michigan State University for their services as it pertained to fingerprint software, and that is not a direct connection to Eugene Yu, but Michigan State University is a key character and one that comes up again and again throughout this story. It's where these professors worked, and seems to me the senior member in the partnership was actually not Eugene Yu, is this inventor called Lionel Nee, who is actually the current provost or rector for the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, which is another school that comes up again and again. Those are the two schools, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology and the Michigan State University, that come up repeatedly throughout this story. But as Emerald mentioned, it was proven that this information was stored not just in the United States, but on servers in China. And moreover, it was proven using registries and DNS registries. It was found that Eugene Yu's email was also used to register a website that is directly tied to the government, whose servers are actually based in Wuhan, of all places, in Wuhan, China. But as far as more connections with the government and taxpayer funds in particular, I mentioned the DoD contract, which was pretty large, but there was also a contract with Michigan that was announced in December of last year, and that was from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and that was north of $300,000. And this is really confusing for me because the Ingham County prosecutor, her name is Carl Simon, she decided not to prosecute, which didn't make sense to me because part of the basis for California's charge is that it violated the contract with the state, and these funds come from the taxpayers. And basically the same thing happened in Michigan, where you have taxpayer money going to, or that went to Connect, pretty much no strings attached. There was no sort of performance-based requirement attached to that money. And Michigan doesn't want to prosecute it. It's really confusing. But a lot of great people did work on this, including anonymous citizen journalists like Hannah Coab. I also want to give a shout out to George Webb, who actually went to the courthouse to get some documents there, but also Digger Sleuth, and there was another guy, Gus Quixote. Really a lot of great work done by citizen journalists, public intelligence analysts, and of course this all stemmed from the event at the pit at which Jeff Prather actually spoke, and he really lambasted the FBI director, and of course A.G. Garland as well. He called them the two most despicable people in government. But as you mentioned, he does, Eugene, you have a connection to the mayor of Detroit through his son-in-law. His son-in-law, Lucas Polcyn, Polcyn, works for the mayor of Detroit right now, Mike Duggan. He's married to Eugene Yu's daughter. Her name is Eunice Yu. They're both about 35 or 36. And that was something that I don't think anybody discovered prior to that. I really looked into his Facebook, which I don't think anybody did either. And before I get to his Facebook friends, everybody incorrectly reported his age. He's actually 64. He's almost 65. His birthday's on Tuesday. For some reason, the mainstream reported his age as 51. So as far as his Facebook friends, though, yeah, go ahead, Emerald.
Well, we're running out of time, and I think this is something that is going to keep going, right? You're still digging because, I mean, this is so deep and there's so many connections, and I'd honestly like to hear more about the Department of Homeland Security connection as well. So I assume you're going to have an update. We only have about 20 seconds. So when can we expect the update?
As soon as you want it. And I actually did mention there is a direct DHS connection to Vodem Corp. In 2018, they agreed to a contract with Connect. So you have DHS and the DOD directly contracting with Connect and Eugene Yu, and by extension, the Chinese Communist Party.
It's just incredible because, you know, clearly you have to then question, is this just oversight? Is this just not doing your due diligence? Or is this a purposeful connection? And I think the more you dig, the more you'll find those answers. And we appreciate you and the other citizen journalists, Addy Ads, and independent journalists who are digging into this, which is a major national security issue for our country that just really isn't getting enough attention. Thank you, Addy.
Thank you, Emerald.